All right, everybody, welcome to reading lesson 11. I've heard from many of you that you've been reading, that you've been rereading your books. That makes me very happy. Okay, so recently we've been talking about word solving, what to do when we get stuck. And we're going to look at another thing we can do today. So, we've already talked about these things here: reading more, writing ideas down, but also writing down those stop and jots, writing down the words that we're stuck on. Now, sometimes we don't have our sticky notes with us, and we're reading a book and we get stuck somewhere and we're not sure what to do with it. Well, we've talked about looking through the whole word part by part, and we also talked about looking for a word inside of a word. But today I want to focus on using what's happening in the story and checking the picture and thinking what would make sense. And we're going to do it first with this book here, Days with Frog and Toad, which some of you may have borrowed from me. So let's say you're reading that and you see this word. Now, you know from foundations, this could be wind, like I have to wind my watch, or wind up the toy so that it works. It could be wind also. And we're not really sure until we get into the story. We don't even know in the beginning which of these words it might be. But we can check pictures to see what makes sense. That picture there on the right, it looks like it's kind of windy. And of course, they're holding a kite. That might have a big part to do with how we're going to read the word. But then we also have to think about what would make sense in the story. We check the picture, but what's happening in the story? Ah, Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. It wouldn't make sense to say where the wind was strong. So sometimes we don't just want to read the word the way it is pronounced. We have to read it in a way that makes sense. And sometimes tricky words can be pronounced more than one way. So we have to look at the picture. We have to think about what's happening in the story. And that'll help us make more sense of it. Let's try another example. So this is from Those Darn Squirrels. And let's say you see this word. Though the squirrels were so, hmm, they had a party. All right, that's kind of a big word. Now, it's actually on the page, but it's a little difficult to see it, which is why I've had to blow it up here. So the squirrels were so, now you might be able to figure it out if you looked at it long enough. But why don't we break it up? Oh, well, there's some words here that we know. We have joy, which we know means happiness, and over means above or extra. The squirrels were so overjoyed they had a party. And that makes sense in the story because a lot of people would be very happy to have a party. And you can't really see them well here, but these squirrels are happy. They're all smiling. Okay? So we can look at the picture, we can understand which way the story is going, and if we know how it wants to be read, that can also help us understand how to solve for a tricky word. Okay? So remember, we look through the whole word. We look inside the word to see if there are smaller ones. Okay? We use what's happening in the story to help us figure it out. And we check the picture and think, what would make sense? Okay? That's it. Very small reading tip for today. Keep reading, everybody. More books coming. The end.